Hello, welcome one and all. We are here for the Proving Grounds. It is round 4, and I'm going to be joined in by the lovely Jolly to be my color cast. She's flexing for me today, so I can provide that hype play-by-play, but she'll be bringing a lot of hype knowledge as well. Jolly, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing so awesome, and you know I keep getting distracted by the beautiful drawings that you have behind you.
I told her before that she would be laughing at my artistic skills here. I also did these within a minute, so
I'm impressed. I can't lie. I'm actually impressed. We need to take a picture of that. There's got to be like a screenshot. We need to take a picture of that because, yeah, it's beautiful. But there's also a circle below each one, like a cancel. What's going on with that?
It's a 0. There's 0. The score is 0-0. I mean, we haven't started yet. We haven't even gone through all of the run of show today. We got a long way before I can change any of these to actually be numbers. So,
fine.
Why don't we talk about more of what has already happened in this tournament? Let's go and look at the bracket to really give you guys all some knowledge of how things have been going so far. And you can kind of get a clue as to the first one we're going to see right there. Team Liquid Academy, Dignitas Academy, two teams with absolutely outstanding records. Not only just going into this, you can see that they're both doing really well so far in the tournament, but honestly, they've just got, a 6-series win streak for Team Liquid Academy and an 8-series win streak for Dignitas Academy if you go all the way back to summer split.
So that means that this is a tiebreaker, baby. We have a lot on the line for this one, not just because this is the upper bracket going into week 3. We've got multiple undefeated teams, but I mean, to have a 6-series streak and an 8-series streak, that's absolutely insane. I mean, this is one of the hardest predictions I've had to make in a very, very long time, if not like my career doing collegiate amateur stuff, because both of these teams have been growing so much over the last several weeks, several months, really, and have, I mean, continued to make some amazing additions to these teams. We're going to see, though, how the other side of the upper bracket is going. That's going to be later today with 100 Thieves Academy going up into Wildcard Red. Wildcard Red, obviously, team who has found a lot of success themselves.
A lot of people equating them, including myself, to No Org from the spring split, the winners of the Proving Grounds back in spring. Wildcard looking to bring up that mantle of the amateur teams winning out in Proving Grounds over these academy teams. And honestly, so far, they are really proving that. They have been absolutely incredibly strong, getting, I think the Grand Slam back when we had all the qualifying tournaments, and then coming into those ones, still having not dropped a game so far.
It's crazy that you've got young teams. I cannot the fact that I'm assuming that today we have the show a little bit later than we might have seen due to the fact that Will has to get home from school. Will has to ride the bus home from school. That was why there was a delay. We've had a couple delays earlier in the week, and we're just waiting for this kid to get home, and he does it. He kicks absolute butt. He just turned 16 years old, and this is Will on Dignitas Academy. So, there are some stellar players, but man, these two teams, they're so cohesive. They've really been working on their communication a lot recently, and with how the meta has kind of turned, honestly, just compositions and draft has been huge for both of these teams, and they've been very successful.
And you kind of were talking about the rosters. I think it's a good time to actually bring up both rosters and really dive in to these teams, because you've already kind of spelled it out pretty well. These two teams have grown so much. You look at Team Liquid Academy getting second place back in the summer split, but then winning the playoffs outright. This is a team that has been on a hot streak for quite some time. They've got the win streak that I was talking about, that 6-series win streak, goes all the way back to week 8 in the summer split. Dignitas's goes back to week 9, day 2. So a lot more recent, but they've also had to go through a lot more tournaments. They had to go through the Proving Ground qualifier just to be able to get back here. That's why they're the 11th seed, yet still here undefeated in this tournament so far.
Yeah, the seeds on this one, due to the fact that we had the other tournament, due to the fact, you've got UGP and things like that, that have also kind of been adjusting things. The seed adjustment didn't take place after that, so this is just still the initial adjustment. I think that's the biggest thing to really point out for Dignitas in particular, just because they went from a place of not really struggling, but struggling to find their stride, I guess, as a team. The individual players not quite getting the cohesion that we see them, I mean, absolutely running it down with right now, and especially again with the addition of Will onto this team. It took a couple of weeks once Will was first added to it for him to I mean, become glued to this, and it's insane to think that a young player like this, 16 years old again, is able to very quickly learn to take coaching and to be accepting of really just criticism in general.
And that's kind of what they needed. They needed to be able to bring him in and really work him with the team. And that's, I think, why they struggled for quite some time.
Yeah.
They had a lot of roster swaps with the main team, with the academy team. Then you brought Will in, I think back in week 5 of the summer split. You could see from there was the struggle. But once they got their groove, once they found the mojo with Will on the team, they all seemed to really work so well together. Not dropping a series since day 2 of week 9. This is an incredible team, and honestly, I also love looking at Lorlo, his champion pool in the top lane.
Yep.
The Akshan that he busted out here for us just to be able to give us some style points. But then on the flip side, you've also had some roster swaps when you go look at the early part of the split for Team Liquid, where they had Jenkins go on to the main team for a bit. Armeo even spent a little bit of time with the LCS squad, but then coming back here into the academy scene, and somehow Armeo getting a pentakill with Sejuani. I don't know, I haven't checked the records, but I'm pretty sure that has never been done before in the history of ever.
Yeah, and I don't think we're going to see it again unless Armeo decides to pull it out one more time, because honestly, we've seen actually quite a few pentakills coming through in this series, which we absolutely love to see as a play-by-play. I'm sure you're stoked on that one. But yeah, to see just some of the crazy champions that are pulled out, as you mentioned, Lorlo with the Akshan. That was, I think, the first time I had to cast Akshan actually, and I was like, oh man, all right, we're gonna have fun with these heroic swings, because at least Lorlo knows how to make those work. Still can't figure it out. I've tried. Still can't figure it out.
I mean, I just go for the easy build path, which is just go lethality, max Q. Don't even use the sling, the hook shot, because I don't know how that works. Except it's fun when you're like right next to like a broken turret. You use it on there and you go wee right in circles. Yep. That's the only thing I really know how to do with it.
I think Lorlo would argue that it is very, very useful, as we saw in those games. I think it was on Friday, last Friday.
There's a difference between him and me. There's a difference there. He knows how to play the champion. I just go wee.
Yeah, and actually we've seen Akshan popping up just in general because of the fact that really there hasn't been a ton of pro play where we've seen him, or at least in the amateur scene, maybe the semi-pro scene. Just a lot of what works really, really well into this champion. I think in those games we saw like a Poppy come out. Didn't work. That did not work. So it's kind of a trial and error with this new champion. And so I love to see teams that know that they can potentially have the upper hand in some of these fights to take risks like that, because I'm sure Lorlo was very confident going in, but knowing, all right, this team probably doesn't necessarily have the best counter pick into this matchup, and this Akshan is picked on early enough that they're flex picks as well. So really manipulating pick ban is massive. We were talking about this magically, you and I, when we were just talking yesterday, chatting about the matches that are coming up today. And that was one of the big things that we absolutely agree on is in the past, people are like, picks bans, they really don't matter, but they absolutely do in the current meta.
And especially between the two teams we're going to start off with, Team Liquid and Dignitas. You look at Team Liquid, and this has been a team with some of the strongest drafting we've seen of academy teams, tending to always get these counter matchups when they need to. Jenkins also having an ocean similar to Lorlo when it comes to champion pool size. And then you have the Kennen, that even when you think you have a counter into Jenkins' Kennen, he still is able to get these solo kills to be absolutely brutal on it. So as we get ready to dive into Champions Select for our first game of this first best of 3, round 4, you can see that Kennen banned away immediately by Dignitas.
Yeah, that's respect right there, and you love to see it. Dignitas immediately following that up with the Thresh. You've got the Gnar and the Twisted Fate taken out by TL Academy. They are taking no time to get those first 4 bans, or first 2 per team, out on the board. Lee Sin is going to round out the first round of bans here for TL Academy. Just an all-around strong one, and Will has made some standout performances on that champion. We're going to finish it out, though, with the Zig. So, pretty standard. This is a lot of what we've been seeing. Several mid laners, a few of these top laners that you just don't want to be involved, and then classic first pick, Varus. And I think this is the best first pick right now, hands down. I think it has been for a while. I think just more recently people have recognized that, and I'm glad to see it in use.
All right, and that's why you're seeing another round of nerfs coming his way shortly. He's just been absolutely dominating when it comes to the pro scene, when it comes to even just regular solo queue as well, with how much you could do with him. But another champion that has been dominating, especially in certain hands, is that Rise for Soligo. And normally, playing into it, people like to get the Twisted Fate to be able to move around the map before he can. Well, that was already banned away by Team Liquid themselves.
Ooh, and you know what? Lorlo loves the Camille. That is one that is very frequently banned away from Lorlo. In fact, I think we saw on Friday in those previous games that I was casting with Dignitas. It was 3 bans at least that were directed at Lorlo, and he still won the lane. So it's very, very difficult to stop him. I respect that TL Academy is like, all right, we'll just give him the Camille. If he wants it, that's what he's going to go with. But you're right, Soligo with that Rise is terrifying, but I love to see it. The Cassiopeia lock-in. And I'm really surprised that Jarvan was taken before Xin Zhao right there. I am actually wildly surprised at that.
To me, it kind of is more of a difference in what I expect from these two players. Will has been a player that I kind of see, same like with Chad Jungle over for 100 Thieves Academy. A player that is a lighter version of Kenvi. Kenvi last year, a lot would say, an aggressive player who Will has been able to kind of control a little bit more, but he does like to tend to be more of a carry for his team. So when he likes to control, while Armeo is always someone I look at as being full control. Make sure that he is going to rein in Will at all points in the game, and Jarvan sticks out as a champion that is going to look for that early into the game, into the Xin Zhao.
I do just love whenever you lock in the Camille and then Jarvan gets picked up, you're like, sweet, cataclysm me, please. I have a hook shot. You just boop, boop, you just get right over that little wall, no problems at all. A lot harder with like the Crescent Guard, but you also have actually the potential for the Realm Warp. I have yet to see something that flashy so far, but there are a lot of options actually to deal with that Cataclysm. So that's kind of my surprise there, is after Rise and Camille are locked in, they decide to go with the Jarvan. I do like the Cataclysm, and right now it's going to add a lot if they're able to follow it up with like the Chains of Corruption there, and then get Cassiopeia to throw in some Fangs. There's a lot of damage on board, but the second ban phase has come through. It looks like Dignitas has taken out Gangplank and Braum, and then on the other side, TL Academy don't want to offer much in the bottom lane for Dignitas, have removed Ezreal and Tristana.
As Leona is going to be the first pick in the second round for Dignitas. I thought it was going to be the Ashe, and Ashe is something that kind of functions still as that utility ADC, but also being a great carry in the later stages of the game with their crit build. And looking at how top-heavy this composition already is from Dignitas. You got Camille, you got Xin Zhao, you got Rise. All these champions, when it comes to that mid to late game, are going to be absolutely disgusting with the amount of damage they're going to be able to provide.
And that Leona was absolutely a steal. Like, that Leona would have gone great on this TL Academy team. So, what? Okay, all right, hold on.
Lulu top.
Check it. I was going to say that's an interesting pick for the Lulu because that's not very good there into Leona, but Alistar is. So, they're running with the Alistar Varus bottom lane. It will be the Ashe pick. I think that was the reason for taking the Leona, of saying, okay, they've already got Varus locked in. They're not going to pick up the Ashe, so we might as well get the support that we want, that we also want to take away from them. So I love to see it. Usually I kind of expected the crazy plays to come out of Dignitas today, and TL Academy already right off the bat gonna throw us back in our seats.
And this is a throwback to me from what I used to see at the very beginning of the summer split out of Jenkins. Kennen, Lulu. These were two champions that he had put a lot of practice into, especially when you saw more of the Viegos, the Nocturnes, really the carries coming in from the jungle. And that's the thing with Jarvan. Jarvan has so many options in how you want to build him. You can go for the full lethality build if you really want to. I doubt we're going to see that. Probably going to be more of the full engage. But he can even still go with the Bruiser build and still do a ton of damage to these fairly squishy members on the side of Dignitas.
It's really rude. It is really rude. Honestly, having wild growth on a team that has somebody like a Jarvan or like an Alistar is insane. It's going to be a good one.
It's going to be a good one, but we're going to toss it to a break, a little commercial. We'll be back with our first game. Stick around. Hello, hello, welcome back. We're here for game one. It is round 4. We're getting it close to the best of 5s, but just a couple more best of 3s before then. Team Liquid Academy, the first seed, taking on the surprise 11th seed in Dignitas Academy. 8 series win streak on their side compared to only the 6 from Team Liquid. Which one will reign supreme after this best of 3?
It is absolutely insane seeing 1st and 11th up there right now, this far into the winner, the upper side of this bracket. And yes, again, a streak will be broken here. Dignitas reigning supreme with the longer stream currently because they did play a lot more games and fought their way back up through this bracket. But my goodness, I love the Lulu pick on this one. I love the Cassiopeia pick on this one. We were in that very, very short break Magical. You were like, there's a lot of damage on Dig's side, but you know, the survivability isn't quite there. But at the same time, each of these champions has their own just innate survivability within their kit. They tend to be a little bit tanky. So while the survivability might not be there right at the beginning, they have the opportunity for a lot of aggression and a lot of damage pop off.
The big thing for me is if they're able to, kite it back, wait it out, they're going to be able to survive. But then you look on the other side, Cassiopeia especially, someone who does a lot of damage over time, who's going to be able to slowly but surely burn you down, really wear away at your resistances. And Jarvan. Jarvan, I'm curious to see how the build is going to be, because he's got Conqueror. He still can go for the more bruiser side of the build, but that is a lot of upfront burst damage that he provides with that build.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I think that's, you mentioned the Cassiopeia, the Lulu, you were talking about, they have to kite it out, which is great, but there's a lot of poke available, and it's going to be dodged right there. Oh my gosh. Spawn actually getting a lot of assistance right there from JJ. So it ends up being a little more back and forth, but you do have a lot of poke on the side of Team Liquid that is going to have to be fancy-footed around by Dignitas coming up.
There's Harry, Soligo, having a little bit of a battle of the mid lane, who's going to get control. And Sligo, it's his rise. He knows how to play this into a lot of different champions, and you can see the control he's already getting over Cassiopeia, who's typically considered not exactly a hard counter, but one of those skill counter matchups into a rise.
Already very, very low on mana there as well. Lorlo, as expected, I mean, I mentioned the fact that Team Liquid allowed this pick to go through. They had a response, and this was it, pulling out the Lulu towards the end of the composition, and I love to see it. It is going to be kind of hard early on for mana if Jenkins does spam out that Glitter Lance quite a bit. So Lorlo might have an opportunity for a gank if Jenkins continues to push forward like this. But you've got so much speed in Lulu, you've got the teleport available, and you've got a Jarvan as well, who is likely going to focus heavily on this top side.
And I was looking at where Will is right now. He had started top side, Armeo bot side. They're not going to be anywhere near each other, but this gives Armeo the one to control the top side of the map. And Jenkins has nothing to fear. He knows he's got his jungler nearby, and it is a Jarvan, someone who can get towards you from several screens away. And that's why he's just pushing up, pretty much not even fearful of Lorlo, poking him out surely, slowly, over and over again. Anytime that he sees Lorlo stepping up, he's like, all right, I'm going to take away half your health.
And that's where the corrupting biscuit really come in hand. Mentioned it. The mana is what really gets tough here, because if he falls down, Lorlo need to go in, avoid the polymorph potentially. You have to decide to use the Whimsy on yourself as Jenkins or the polymorph on the enemy to get away. But Lorlo does have the initiation available with those biscuits are stacked. The corrupting potion still has 1 charge available in it, so it's going to be a while before Jenkins actually has to recall. Unless there's a move from one of the jungles. We can see Will heading back up towards the top side, but there's a lot of aggressive vision as well that's been placed by TL, so Will be spotted out.
Exactly, and that's what I was going to say. Will, he's like, all right, I can help my top side now. I was able to fully clear, get myself my Sheen. Perfect timing. But Jenkins, with so much control, Armeo too, was able to step up and secure a lot of control and vision around the red buff, around the chickens. That whole top side is just blue as far as the eye can see. Will really isn't going to be able to do much here, even though he wants to. You can see that he's kind of hanging around here, getting the Krugs. Would love to be able to go top side and get Jenkins, but Jenkins is like, yeah, cool, I know you're on those Krugs. I can push this out, and you can do nothing about it.
And now the pings come out that Will is going to head down to the Raptors, and no surprise, Team Liquid has eyes on those as well. So that is huge for this matchup right now. Preventing Will from being able to gank that top side allowed Jenkins to constantly put the pressure on, and now gets to go back with some solid gold.
With Jenkins is coming back with Swifties, too. He's gone for the swiftness boots as opposed to anything else, just so he can get back to the lane faster and push Lorlo in harder.
It's so good, and that's what I was talking about. You've got the movement speed. Right before I mentioned the fact that, you know, you've got Armeo, who's also available, and you've got the vision that prevents Will from getting in there. But Lulu also innately has good speed and has the Whimsy available for some extra speed, so can get into lane quickly, doesn't have to use that teleport, and that teleport will be incredibly useful when level 6 is hit and Wild Growth comes through. So that is absolutely Jenkins waiting for a Wild Growth opportunity to throw down onto Armeo or on to Ayla, depending on how the initiation goes.
Look at this. Just because of this top lane, there's not really much you can do bot lane because it's Varus and the Ashe lane. They're going to both be able to clear out pretty consistently. Mid lane, similar story. That's why JJ's kind of failed on the bot lane completely and is looking for a play elsewhere. But this control on the top side meant that Will had to hang out at the Grot before it even spawned because he had nothing else to do. And then Lorlo had to TP back to the top side. So now you have TP advantage for Jenkins, who just used the Swifty boots to be able to get back into the lane. They have TP advantage over Lorlo, so Jenkins can join in with this team at any moment if need be.
Again, joining in with not just a polymorph, but a Wild Growth. My goodness, in terms of team fighting, those two abilities are just horrifying to go up against. You've got a Glitter Lance on top of it to provide a slow if your team needs some sort of follow-up or needs to do some sort of chase. Long ability, little bit of slow, that's all it is required for the rest of Team Liquid to catch up here to the team. So, I mean, I said it, I'll say it again. I love this Lulu pick. Dignitas needs to continue to be scared if they're not able to find pressure somewhere.
And right there, Saligo, he's kind of feigning that he was going topside, but with that little mana, you realm warp topside, you got nothing left. There's no abilities you could use, even if you wanted to be able to get into the top lane. And you could see that Team Liquid Academy, they knew that. Harry didn't even bother. He's like, yeah, sure, Jenkins, be careful. I doubt he's going to come top lane, because what can he do? It's going to take forever to get there.
And, you know, it takes Jenkins no time to get everywhere. You know, luckily for Dignitas, they have been maintaining themselves great. That's going to be an arrow.
Yeah, but it's on the island, not necessarily the one you want to be able to go onto. You're going to get anyone. Yawn's the one you want to be able to tag onto. There's going to be the cleanse, but they got the TP in behind them with JJ on top of Yawn. The flash in. First blood for JJ. The turret will finish him off. 1-for-1 trade.
Excellent communication right there by Dignitas to say, all right, Spawn, we're not going to get out of this alive. You've got the TP coming through. You get the heck out of here. I'll at least secure the extra first blood gold. You go down for it, but JJ is such an exceptional support. We've seen it time and time again. We'll take another look at that when the chains of corruption immediately in response, but everything there hit JJ. So you have an excellent Zenith Blade to go in, the Ignite as well, and right there we saw the hop away after the head, but you know, it really setting that one up actually for Dignitas to get out with one member alive.
What a martyr JJ is, sacrificing his own life, and that burns so much time from Jenkins. We're trying to rush, and if he could get the Wild Growth off in time, you would have saved Yawn's life. But he was just barely out of range to be able to get that. So that means it was the 1-for-1 truly, and a TP burned by Jenkins. They no longer have that TP advantage that they had been able to gain so long ago, even though they're able to still get themselves that Rift Herald on the top side. Now is a little bit more control back over to Dignitas Academy, where they don't feel as threatened. And you can see that from Will right here. But Will, you're way too far from the rest of the team. Hayri can easily clean that up.
And that was a Crescent Guard that came out. I didn't even see the response from it, not gonna lie. I don't know if nobody was close enough, but it was just so instant, the amount of damage that landed there onto Will. Once you get headbutted into the remaining members of Team Liquid, there's not a lot that can be done there. Lorlo now finally getting to the point, once you can get a little bit of damage and survivability here on the Camille, you have a lot more opportunity to engage, especially because Jenkins is going to continue to use a decent amount of mana as this goes on, especially starting with those Swifty Boots instead of opting for a little bit of mana regen. So Lorlo getting the opportunity to make a move down. We can take a look at the vision as well. A lot along the river here is placed by Dignitas, just trying to keep eyes on Team Liquid.
Another arrow.
There it is.
Looking to see what they can get. Yawn, he's got no flash, no cleanse, no way to be able to escape that one. So Spawn, this time around, can pick himself up the kill. As Ayla It's a little bit of distance since he broke the chains. They didn't want to really jump on top of him. It'd take a long time to be able to topple the cow.
Ultimates expended from both members there. You still have JJ at level 5, so no Solar Flare available for that fight. But the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, the Chains of Corruption, the Alistar ulti, it's not coming to my mind right now. It's a lot of things expended and a kill going over to Dignitas. So they're finding what they can. It's exactly even gold once more, and now Dignitas is going to pick up the first dragon of the game here, being a Cloud Drake. Certainly one you want to keep away from Jenkins.
As much as you can take away from these really impactful ults on the side of Team Liquid Academy, the better. Plus, now they've even upped the neutrals. They've got themselves the Dragon compared to the Rift Herald on the other side that still has yet to be placed down by Armeo. We're looking for that path to be able to at least help out one of his lanes, and I would expect it to be, if you possibly can, into this mid lane, but with how easy Sligo can clear out these minion waves, there's not really a good chance to actually do that unless Sligo leaves first.
And getting, considering too that Harry doesn't have a teleport, neither just Jenkins at the moment. Sure, Lorlo's is down. It's the closest one to being up, and Sligo's is, but you've still got Realm Warp. And so while you've got a lot of mobility, a lot of initiation potential from the side of Team Liquid, there you go. You have a third ability to go in.
And Jan still doesn't have that flash available. A few seconds off until that cooldown would be back up, so his third death of the game. The only one on Team Liquid Academy side have died thus far.
That's a big one to keep down. Varus talked about how much of a priority pick he should be at the beginning of this. He was first pick for Team Liquid, as is expected, because of how much damage he does. In particular, the piercing arrows towards the end of the game are just insane and almost unavoidable. Shelly comes out here in the mid lane, so Team Liquid at least take what they can get.
That's expected. That's why I was even saying the only real reason you're going to be able to actually use Shelly mid lane is if Saligo left. And sure enough, Saligo left. They placed down the eye there so they can get a lot of plates for Hayri, for Armeo. Get these carries, since the bot lane carry not working out too well at the moment.
Not as well as they might anticipate, but the rest of the team seems to be doing really, really well. And the fact that Will has been staunch in a lot of these fights is also something that can be commended for the side of Team Liquid. We've got an Infernal Drake as the next one to come up. Both of these teams are so confident, have so much cohesion and communication that, if we even see a full 5v5 team fight, it's still not going to be for a while because of the amount of split pushability for the teams and just how talented they are individually and as a team.
And then you look at the vision. This is where we have to go back to vision, and you can see that Team Liquid Academy really are embodying the control that we know from Armeo with this vision that he placed down into Will's jungle. Look at how much of that vision topside is lit up for Will. They even have a control ward right outside of the red buff, back towards the tier 2.
You do have a lot. You got to consider Dignitas focusing on the dragon. So that is a lot of theirs. However, Good also has just as much vision. The arrow's going to come out. Just a little sidestep there from Jan. Will be able to avoid that. The solar flare on top of it, and it's still not enough.
Jan was pretty safe there. Even if you wanted to follow that one up, it would have been rough. As Lorlo, Jenkins, 1v1 duel. Lorlo got a lot of damage there. As bot lane, we continue this 2v2 fight. Chain of Corruptions comes out, but it's only on to JJ, and he's fairly tanky at this moment. Jan has to be careful. Here he comes, right into the back line with the cleanse, but with an ignite ticking on top of his head. He wants to get distance away from spawn. The exhaust will come out to get a little bit more so that Jan can stay alive. Hits the hail of blades, but look at the damage from the volley to take him down. Killing spree out of spawn, but all the while, Hayri has been able to pass into the bot lane. TP's going to come out from Lorlo so they can chase down onto Hayri, but they don't have very much just yet as terms of lockdown. But Saligo is going to be able to provide a lot when he flashed in with the Rune Prison, even with an Everfrost. They have all that damage that I was talking about with the Follies. Just need one more little tick, but Ayla, he's a hero. He gives up his life to spawn, but it's a rampage out of the ADC out of Dignitas Academy.
So much blood that TL has to face right there for going down. The reaction time from Dignitas a lot quicker than Team Liquid, unfortunately, for that fight. We'll take another look at that one, and it really started out here with Ayla trying to go in, and a lot of damage going on to JJ. And as you said, the Chains of Corruption coming through right there did not hit, but this is where I was so impressed. I swore that Zenith Blade had gone through to Ayla instead of to Jan. So for that to actually land onto Jan, that meant the cleanse had to be utilized right there. I was so curious as to why he was turning back around, because that W has such a short cooldown with the build right now that Spawn is going at. And then the teleport to come through, perfectly angling Harry off into the side. Yeah, you get the flash out of Sligo, but they get another kill. Not from Harry, unfortunately for them, but they do get Ayla. So still, I mean, just a massacre in favor of Dignitas here with a big, big play.
This is where I was even saying between you and I when we were in the break, when you look at Ashe and how interesting Ashe is, because you have utility with the arrows, you have the wave push that's always consistent, but Ashe is still a great crit marksman when it comes to the late game, and you've got 4 kills now into her pockets. You've got the Immortal Shield though, you've got yourself the close touchings of that Ninja Rage Blade, and now you might even have a pick onto Ayla. He knocks back Will, and this looks a little reminiscent, a little bit of deja vu for poor Will. He got headbutt right back into the enemy team with all 5 of the Goon Squad. That's a huge shutdown on a Spawn. They can gift it to Harry. That's going to get this Cassiopeia 2 kills. Shutdown gold. That is massive.
And a dragon. Big, big fight right there for Team Liquid, and the biggest part of that was the fact that Spawn was completely separated from the team. Will trying so hard to go in, take aggro, get the Crescent Guard in, and allow for the rest of the team to deal damage, but Will got burned down so quickly that they had to disengage. And unfortunately, at that point, Spawn had moved up to try to provide some assistance. The team from all of Team Liquid had kind of moved down, both to try to find that pick and also move towards the Dragon. So unfortunate positioning for Dignitas, but it works out for Team Liquid, evening the gold back up, putting it a little bit in favor of themselves, and evening the Dragons as well.
Even up them Dragons, making it so that they have a lot of gold back into their pocket and into the right members too. The big one being that Harry was able to get that shutdown gold off of Spawn. And now even having a shutdown bounty on his own head. As long as he can keep this Cassiopeia safe. I mean, once we get these Barons up, people always disrespect how quickly Cassiopeia can burn down these neutral objectives.
They've got a lot of damage available there. Varus, another good one to just be able to throw down shots, get some piercing arrow final damage. And Armeo up front to take that up. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do try to make a move, but they're going to look for a big fight first. So they've got Jan here into the mid side, trying to take some pressure, and I'm also assuming trying to pull this team down towards the mid. Dignitas is not going to have any of it. They're deciding to instead go up towards this top side, which separates Jenkins from the rest of the team here and might allow for a pinch from Lorlo.
But I'm just worried about poor Will on this one. Armeo has done such a great job of reining him in and making sure the Xin Zhao hasn't been a problem. 0-2 compared respectively to the 1-0-2 from Armeo. He is making sure that, and you would look at that and go, that's not that big of a disparity. That's not that bad. But it's how much this Jarvan has been able to stop Will from ever impacting this map. He's had, what, 1 gank so far? That's all I can really remember. He's tried going topside several times, but because they had the vision so deep into his jungle, and then we're able to push that into the bot lane side for that Dragon, Will just has been struggling to be able to find things. He's able to get small things, but not massive.
And it was a Rift Herald for them. They get Kelly, but the Cataclysm comes through.
Armeo, that seems a little bit too early, but when you have a double knockup coming in from Ayla and they're able to take down Spawn, that might actually work out pretty well for you. Will's got no mana, neither does JJ. Basilico has plenty, so he can scare off Team Liquid, but unfortunately, it is just the one pick coming in for Dignitas Academy. Pushed back and going to lose this tier 1 mid.
Still a good one for them. They just picked up the first turret on the bottom side as well, so that's going to be 2 turrets. And finally, a bit more of a gold sway in favor of Team Liquid here. Still not as all lost with Dignitas, 5-5, 1 dragon apiece. But they got to start laying down vision here. They need to recognize what fights are just too scary. And with the amount that Team Liquid has put down, they have had the advantage in positioning on every single one. So Dignitas has to get a little bit creative with their vision.
They have so far. If you look at the top side, they've learned their lessons. Willa is slowly making sure they can push back against this massive Titan when it comes to control in Armeo that we've seen so many times in LCS, in Academy, and how he is able to really reign supreme in the jungle. But now that they've gotten this control topside, Jenkins disrespected it. Will gets his first kill of the game off of it.
There we go, and that's what he was looking for. That's going to add a little bit of sway and hopefully a little bit of an ego boost to this young player in Will. Still a very, very minimal gold lead in favor of Team Liquid right now, even though they have those 2 major objectives over the side of Dignitas. So a lot of promise. Dignitas continuing to want to fight these separately as opposed to a full 5v5. We've seen what happens with Team Liquid and how oppressive they are over Dignitas in those. So they're going to try to maintain these split fights, maintain some split pressure as well on the map. They have Camille, who, in my opinion, is one of the best split pushers in the game right now.
Oh, for sure. And you look over, who's going to be able to stop that Camille on the side of Team Liquid Academy? Jenkins? You're going to put the Lulu into the matchup against Camille? Late
Not
game
anymore.
Camille? Maybe early on, yeah. Maybe early on you were able to bully me. But now we've grown up. I've hit the gym a bunch, and Lorlo's starting to get scary.
Starting to get scary, hasn't died yet, has been maintaining CS, and I think that was a really big thing that we didn't quite touch on towards the beginning of the game, but should have acknowledged, was the fact that Lorlo never really fell far behind. As much pressure as was on that map, as Harry takes a lot of damage.
Arrow, that was a massive arrow all the way from the base onto Harry. But Harry's still alive, and Will's the target who actually has to flash away to be able to survive, and here comes Jenkins, going to be able to get a lot of damage onto JJ, but TP in behind. Lorlo, this is going to be the scary threat with the Realm Warp. They can easily cut him off. They got the ultimatum onto Yon, but he's got the wild growth to keep him alive, and a lot of damage onto Jenkins, but he's still alive, and they got Lorlo, they've got JJ, so Ligo has to flash over the wall to be able to survive, even though Yon is taken out, and the flash away coming in from spawn to be able to get himself a little bit of distance away from Armeo, but Armeo's got Ayla backing him up. They've got everyone here. Double kill from Armeo.
What a fight right there. It looked so good at the start for Dignitas, and you had some really flashy plays coming through, but Team Liquid doing so much damage with Yon on the backside. That was huge with the piercing arrows, and very, very well timed, and a lot of patience shown right there in that fight from Team Liquid on deciding when to fully initiate, when to fully disengage. And now we can see Harry is already didn't have to recall, was very, very low and almost died at the beginning of the fight, but is able to come in and do a ton of damage to this Baron now.
2-item Cassiopeia can easily take this Baron down quickly. Will is on the other side, but with the miasma, here's going to be the arrow onto Ayla. They've got a bit of damage. Will, do you make the call? Do you dash over the wall? No, you let the Baron do it with style so JJ can get the kill.
Beautiful, all the crowd control. That Candy Crystal arrow hit. You get the strike across from Will. You get the solar flare as well from JJ. A little bit of burn is all it takes. The Baron can certainly provide that. So while Dignitas are facing really unsuccessful fights, they are finding and making success for themselves elsewhere.
And here it started off, it looked good from the arrow at first.
It looks so good. Legal immediately jumping onto that. The root under tower was huge, and that solar flare just barely didn't catch Harry as much as they would have liked that. And Will had to flash out very, very early on in that one, being the only one stuck in the Cataclysm. And, I mean, this TP was fantastic. You had JJ with the Zenith Blade over the wall, which was great because it split off Ayla from the rest of the fight. But, my goodness, there was just way too much damage coming out of Harry on the backside here. And with that burn, with the poison, if this team is separated out, all it takes is Cassiopeia to decide that one member is a target, and that member will end up going down. Ayla with a fantastic jump in there and headbutt as well, just allowing the rest of the team to stay alive. So very, very good communication from Team Liquid on that fight.
And this is the problem I had at the very beginning. Remember when I talked about Dignitas Academy's roster? They have scaling on their side, but they're fairly susceptible to dying pretty quickly, and we saw that. And we can see that again if they're not able to find this pick. Look at that. They're able to bounce around JJ. Your engage is gone. Will is scared off. Cataclysm on top of him, and with a wild growth onto Armeo, he tries to dive back in himself, but he's polymorphed immediately. Even with the Crescent Strike, double kill, sinking the fangs in, coming in from Harry. They turn back for the Baron.
And we just saw the flash was used in that previous fight that we took a look at the replay of a moment ago for Will. So getting Cataclysmed on is going to spell the death of that player. Armeo very well recognizing that if they're going to get out a sneaky player, if they're going to shut somebody down, Will is a very, very easy target right now and takes a lot of damage. So picking up a double kill out of all members this Cassiopeia. Harry sitting at 5-0-4, a 700 gold bounty on his head. And Wild Rise, yes, can clean up and push lanes very well, pick up a lot of crowd control. Hey, Cassiopeia does the exact same thing. And Dignitas find themselves the third turret for them this game.
Yeah, and Dignitas, at least they're getting some gold back for themselves, so they're not massively far behind. It's 4,500 at 25 minutes into the game. But it's where the gold is that's the big problem, and where it's lacking out of Dignitas. 1 and 3 for poor Will on the Sinjao. He's sitting on still one item. Lorlo is still sitting on one item. You've got the 2 items for your Rise and Ash, but you need to be able to get at least this Camille, that second item, if you want to have that split push threat we were talking about earlier.
See if they're able to utilize it. The Pix is also, while picks are good for TL if it is for Harry, they're also really good for Dignitas. They might find one now.
That's a big pick right there. Armeo goes golden. He's delaying as much as he can. Nice! Petrifying gaze, the flash away, but Harry's right in the thick of it. They got the kill on the Lorlo. Wait, when did this happen? They got the kill on a GJ2. Will in the backline, he's taken out. Only 2 members alive from Dignitas Academy. The flash coming in from Ayla right on top of Saligo. And Saligo's got no way to be able to get out of this one. 4 down. Team Liquid Academy can push down mid and look for a win.
Oh my goodness, that ultimate from Harry was insane. Harry just decimating the team, locking them down. It was immediately followed up by a beautiful chains of corruption as well from Jan, and that's basically the story. When you have members that can deal as much damage as Harry and Jan, you're gonna get burned down instantly. Going to be a recall here. They're just gonna push in, take the first inhibitor, but my goodness, Team Liquid really showing their dominance towards the second half of this game.
They're giving respect over to Dignitas Academy. They don't want to throw away a lot of that lead they've now carved out for themselves with this 7,000, nearly 8,000 gold lead. But they got to be careful. Lorlo not wanting to let them back. Nice dodge coming in from Ayla. Ayla's making sure that he can do a lot of work. He's still alive, but JJ doesn't even want to tag him. He wants to focus on Armeo because they've already lost Lorlo. A lot of damage coming on the other side, but Spawn, he's got no way to be able to get away. Look at that. He's just getting chased down by Armeo. Nice cancel coming in from Will with the knock-up in. But now he's lost his own life just to save the ADC who eventually dies to Armeo. He is dominating in this game. Saligo, the last surviving member. This almost looks familiar, doesn't it, Jolly?
Very familiar. 10 kills up now, 1,000 gold, and now Liquid stomping down the. They want to have Baron minions. They don't have cannons at the moment, but they've got enough to take pressure for these. The first one going down, looking for the second. They don't want to fight here.
Dignitas, you got to do something eventually because the base is in. Here's the final fight with Saligo back on his own steps and Lorlo in the middle of 5 members. He's burned alive. God like Harry. Game 1 for Team Liquid Academy, continuing their massive streak.
Got turned so quickly by Team Liquid with back-to-back successful fights. And while Dignitas did a really good job of recovering what they could, trying to take some objectives in response, trying to take some towers and stop that gold. Yeah, you gotta change those numbers right there. Team Liquid just didn't allow it. They absolutely did not. They continued to find picks for Harry, and he was just died. Did he die? Did Harry even die that game, actually?
I don't believe Harry did. Harry was absolutely massive on that snake. Don't need no boots either. Can really escalate that mid to late game that we're talking about with Cassiopeia. And it looked rough at first. The laning phase wasn't going so well. Saligo had a lot of that control, but eventually it didn't matter. You got the gold from that Rift Herald early on that you're able to put in it to Harry. Then the pick onto Spawn and the shutdown that was gifted over to Cassiopeia pretty much to me is what spelled doom for Dignitas Academy, because then they just could not stop Harry.
They tried very hard. There was a lot of sacrifice.
Can't.
There's a lot. Are we good? Are we good?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Can hear you now.
We're both having trouble. It's hard to shut that champion down, and you had so many sacrifices coming through from the side of Dignitas. Try to save Spawn, just trying to keep Spawn alive. Get one more volley out. Get the chance to throw down one more enchanted crystal arrow, but it wasn't enough. And a lot of that, I think, we constantly have to touch back on just the absolute dominance and control that was forced against Will in the early part of that game. Not even allowing topside to be touched.
Not at all. It was well done and coming in from the side of Team Liquid Academy. They are now up 1-0 in this best of 3, 1 game away from the 7 series win streak. Can they manage it, or can Dignitas Academy bring this back in game 2? We'll find out after a short break, so don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back.